Welcome, guys, to Twisted News, where we cover some of the most strange and insane cases currently happening in the world. I'm Andy Fitzgerald, and thank you for tuning in. For today, we're going to show you an interesting story about a website that was created for one purpose, but ultimately started attracting the worst kind of clientele. And in the second story, it's a morbid one about a teen in Las Vegas who was imprisoned in her own home for over a year. Give it to Scary Mysteries, Twisted News. Number 1. Website that catches killers. Have you ever done or created something innocently, perhaps just for the fun of it or for a specific reason, only to later realize just how differently other people perceive it? I'm not sure I have, but Bob Inez certainly knows how it feels. In 2008, Bob revisited a website he had created for a previous prospective business he and his buddies had toyed around with making. And what he found in the inbox over there was nothing he ever thought would happen, although in hindsight it actually made a lot of sense. Hundreds of emails from all over the world flooded the website, with each email seemingly worse than the next. But they all shared in the same dark nature, as they were all inquiries about hiring a killer. The website's name was pretty clear as to why this happened. It was, after all, www.rentahitman.com. Now, the background on it is that back in 2005, a group of men who were part of the IT program at Empire College in Northern California thought of starting up a business that specialized in the penetration testing of a network, which is done to strengthen that network by figuring out its vulnerabilities and resolving them. And Bob came up with the domain name of their budding business, rentahitman.com. He explained that this name was a play on words and that the targeted customers would rent or hire them to check the hit, a term in IT that is a website analytics metric, and man because they are a group of men. The domain name was a hit among the group, and on the 5th of February 2005, for $9.20, the website was up and running. But nothing much came of it, especially because Bob and everyone else graduated in June of that year, and then they went their separate ways. Because Bob didn't feel the need to pursue the business, he decided to try to let the domain go, but he ended up keeping it as the attempts to auction it off were unsuccessful. And there it sat for years, until he went ahead and opened it up to see all those creepy emails. On one hand, it made sense for other people to think that the website offered murder for hire services. But on the other hand, and what Bob found ridiculous, was the fact that some of these people truly believed the site was legitimate and were even willing to give out specific details of the who, where, and how-tos of these murders they wanted to be done. He then decided to sort of give in to this seemingly dark demand, and he revamped the site to match those clients' expectations, but this was only a parody site. However, despite this, there were still some people who took the bait and exposed themselves as either clients soliciting for murder or as actual killers looking for jobs. Bob recalled that the first serious request he got was in 2010 from a British woman named Helen Kaplan. She shared that she wanted to have 3 relatives murdered as a form of retaliation for cheating her out of the family inheritance. Not only was her email very detailed, but when Bob replied by asking 2 questions, do you still require our services? Would you like me to put you in contact with the field operatives? She replied with a yes, and even provided more information, particularly about her current whereabouts. Compared to most of the emails he received then, Helen stood out the most because of how rambly and detailed they were. Bob said that most emails were just one-liners, obviously just scouting or checking out the site and later figuring out that it wasn't even real. But not Helen. This made Bob feel uncomfortable, and so after doing intensive research to check the legitimacy of the addresses and other information she provided, he did find Helen the field operative he felt she needed best. He reached out to a cop friend and gave out all the information he got from the email exchange, and he in turn contacted the authorities who had jurisdiction over Helen's location. During that time, she was in Canada and was ultimately apprehended before being sent back to the UK where she was from. Bob shared another disturbing request that was from a relentless 20-year-old man who wanted his ex-girlfriend and her parents killed, and his ex's 3-year-old child kidnapped and then transported from Virginia to Texas so that he could raise the baby with his current girlfriend. A sting operation was later done, and suspect Devin Faber was arrested, and he later on received a 20-year prison sentence with 10 years suspended. Part of the revamping Bob did for the parody Hitman site was providing a link where a potential client would be required to input personal details. There was also a banner ad that redirected users to the Internet Crime Complaint Center of the FBI. As of now, the website has helped assist authorities in performing at least 30 arrests, some of which led to convictions, and it's likely it'll do even more than that. Number 2. Teen locked in room for a year. Home is supposed to be a happy place, especially for any children inside, as it's not only a shelter keeping them shielded from the elements, but also the family there should be providing the much-needed love and support that they need to grow. But unfortunately, children all around the world still suffer from all types of issues happening within their homes, and this story is an extreme case of that. On November 4th, 2022, a resident in a home near Alexander Road and 5th Street in North Las Vegas witnessed a teenage girl across the street attempting to climb into her bedroom using a ladder. This girl was her 18-year-old next-door neighbor, and when they contacted her, she asked them for food and water, and even shared the ordeal she had been experiencing at home. This prompted the resident to call the police, who then arrived on scene. One of the 3 adults in the home, Addie Gonzalez, tried to prohibit the police from entering the house, but because they saw the teenager in the bedroom window on the 2nd floor, she relented and the police were able to check on her and talk to the family. Now, Addie is the girl's mother, and according to the teenager, she had been locked up in her room for more than a year by her mom, as well as her grandmother, Maria Passarin, and a man named Daniel Amezcua, whose relationship to the victim is unclear. And the door to the room had a deadbolt lock on the outside of it, which needed a key to open it, meaning the family decided when to let her in and out. The girl had barely eaten anything since the previous night, so she snuck out of her bedroom window to drink water from the neighbor's backyard hose. To climb down, she tied her clothes together. The girl also shared that she could only eat when her mother got home from work. Upon entering her room, police noticed that it only contained a bed frame and a box spring covered with just a sheet, along with a black bucket that was half full of what seemed to be urine and fecal matter. It was later found that there had been previous reports to the Department of Child Protective Services regarding child abuse in the family, but all 8 of those reports were found unsubstantiated. They also learned that a younger 13-year-old lived in the home but was said to have been unharmed. The 3 adults have since all been arrested on false imprisonment and child abuse charges against the victim. Now, hopefully, over time, this teenager will be able to regain her health physically as well as mentally, as certainly an ordeal like this is bound to have devastating and lasting effects. So there you go, guys, 2 of the strangest and scariest stories that we have for you today. Please come back next week for another episode of Twisted News and check out some of our other content from us we think you'll like. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.